What's up again, everybody? We are officially like 2 days away from the start of spoiler season for Uprising, and I am so incredibly excited. And I'm also incredibly tired because I've been working on my spoiler video like for a while now. Probably more hours than I should have, but check it out. Look, I can't open this yet. Well, I have opened this, but I can't open it on camera yet. But if you want to see what's in here for Uprising, you gotta hang out with this channel on June the 7th, so next Tuesday, and I'll show you what's in the envelope. What's in the envelope? That's a good question. Today we're not going to talk about Uprising though. There's going to be time for that in the next couple of days, but today we're going to talk about something that I've wanted to talk about since the Pro Tour. Haven't had a chance to sit down and make this video until literally right now, and it's perfect timing because if you haven't noticed, this is, by the way, the Living Legend like page on the Fab TCG website. If you haven't noticed, Chain is 12 points away from riding off into the sunset, or perhaps slinking into the shadows might be a better description of what he will do when the time comes. But he is very close to reaching Living Legend status, and in fact it is all but a formality at this point. This weekend will be, I think, the last weekend of ProQuest season. Actually, I think it's the last weekend of ProQuest season, and for him to get 12 points is very simple. I mean, look at it. He's got to pick up that minute. You get 4 points for ProQuests, so he's got to pick up 3 ProQuest wins in order for him to officially become a Living Legend. And it's the Living Legend system that we're going to talk about today, because I had a conversation at the end of the ProQuest, and in fact it even kind of picked up at the end of the Pro Tour like tournament. And it's this conversation of rotation, or really just Living Legend, and how that's going to play out over the course of this year. There was this conversation that I had with a variety of people, including some employees at LSS, and they were talking about how the Living Legend system is going to play out in a big way this year. And one, we've already seen it. Bravo Star, the show, reached Living Legend status at the Pro Tour by picking up the calling win, and has subsequently also picked up a bunch of wins in Pro Quests this season as well, because Living Legend says that you don't actually rotate the hero into the Living Legend status until the release of the next set, or the release of a banned and restricted announcement. Now, my expectation, or my thought, would be that they would actually come out with like a banned and restricted announcement pretty soon after the event, and that they would basically just retire him early, so that this ProQuest season would be a little bit more open with these heroes being more played. But they didn't do that, and it was fine, you know, all the way through. It turned out to be no big deal at all, because people started naturally moving off of Bravo anyway, in favor of some of these other big name heroes, and it has led to Chain now reaching that status essentially. I mean, by the time, depending on when you're watching this, he may have already hit it, but of course I am recording this on Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Yeah, I'm recording this on Thursday, June 2nd, so I don't believe he has the capacity to reach it until the weekend in the last round of ProQuests. But my point and my thought with this, bringing this story up about the conversation that is had, was this. It was said that, it was a very interesting thought because I had never considered it. It was said that if things had gone according to plan, and the ProQuest style, you know, in-store events that earn you 4 points had been instituted when they were intended to, and COVID not gotten in the way, and again, this is namely because of a global pandemic, if things had played out the way that it was naturally intended, then we would have already had multiple heroes rotate out, and this would look very different already. But because it played out in the way that it played out, with things opening up and the stores immediately running all these large-scale events, and points just kind of flowing, it's like pour out points over there, you get points and you get points, because it worked this way, it played out this way, we see this sort of like stack up and quick succession of rotating heroes. And that is a very interesting thing. At first, when I sat down to think about this, I thought, ooh, it's gonna be kind of tough, because if we have like 2 or 3 heroes rotate immediately, well, then we're dropping the numbers very quickly of heroes that you could play within the game. But then I thought a little bit more about it. First of all, we're gonna get 3 heroes back. So like, let's say we lose both of these heroes to Living Legend status, we're getting 3 new heroes in the form of Uprising. And so really that's not, to me, that's not that big of a deal. But the other exciting thing about this has already started to play out. And this is why I wanted to sit down and talk about this. I think the way that this structure is playing out, even though it's unintendedly happening at an accelerated rate perhaps, I think the way that this is playing out is actually incredibly exciting. And tell me if I'm wrong in a comment below. If you disagree with this, if you don't personally like the way that these heroes are rotating so quickly, let me know. But I think it's actually incredibly exciting because of this. These heroes rotate, and this is, I think, what's going to happen through the rest of the year. As they reach Living Legend status and are disallowed in Classic Constructed play, it opens up the space for all of the other heroes to do different things, or to just act differently, perform differently than they would prior. And that's sort of like a duh moment, right? It's like, well, of course, that's like a natural byproduct of a hero leaving, but particularly a powerful hero leaving. If a powerful hero rotates, then all of these heroes have a little bit more of a shot of performing in a meta. And on top of that, depending on what this hero was good at and what this hero was good at punishing, the other heroes might be able to step in. And we see, like I said, we see this kind of starting to play out in the form of Levia or Levia, Shadowborn Abomination, getting her first ever points, which is awesome. Living Legend points. She got 4 points. She picked up our ProQuest win. What's cool about this too is maybe there's hope for Azalea. Yeah, Azalea time. Let's go. It's not quite there. Azalea's the last person to get on the leaderboard. It would be so hilariously sad if Uprising released and all those heroes like Icelander and Phi and Dromai all got points before Azalea. But I also think that would like be totally meme tier. It would be quite hilarious. But it does, this whole process to me highlights the fact that if heroes rotate in this Living Legend system, then it opens up this space for some of these heroes to naturally rise up. And this is not a balance thing. This is not like I'm gonna rotate this hero due to balance reasons and then try to fix the meta this way. This is just a cool natural byproduct of this system. And so what does it look like going forward when Chain rotates? And what does it look like going forward when Prism inevitably rotates? Because Prism's honestly not that far off. A calling win and a couple of ProQuest wins means Prism rotates as well, because a calling win gets you 100 points. Heck, if Prism like wins a Pro Tour or something like that, 200 points. By the way, I do think that they are on the whole face of it, they are constantly reworking and redesigning how this point system is going to display and work out, because like right now calling is worth 100. Maybe that changes, maybe that already changed. Pro Tour is now 200, World Championship 300. So I think they're working this through like not on the fly, but I think they're very open to the idea of shifting. In fact, I've been told as much. Very open to the idea of shifting point totals around to make this play nicely for everyone. And there was this sentiment when I was at Pro Tour that was sort of echoed as like, people are going to be upset when these heroes rotate. And I think to a certain degree that could be the case, and here's one of the reasons why people could be upset. You could find it uncomfortable, even from a fundamental level, if when this hero rotates, let's use Chain for example. When Chain rotates, Chain's specializations are technically unplayable for a time, and Chain's just shadow cards, like the Shadow Rune Blade cards, don't have a hero, can't play them in Classic Constructed, right? So they're sort of unplayable. So in a way it's like, well, I guess technically everything else rotates too. But that's where Bravo, star of the show, yet again leads the way and shows us how this is all going to play out. And I want you to keep this in mind. If and when Chain gets 12 more points, yes, those cards won't be playable for a time. Legend Story Studios has said that they plan to print a new Shadow Runeblade or whatever. They print a new hero for that specific class and that talent so that those cards are playable again. And what is the last set of the year after Uprising? What was announced, or at least I think it was just straight up announced as the last set of the year before Uprising? A supplemental set. And that is really interesting, because if a supplemental set follows, at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, that means that they can print a new Shadow Runeblade. It means that they could print a new Light Illusionist. It means that, I don't know, if something crazy happens and like Briar gets a bunch of points, they can print a new Elemental Runeblade. And not only that, they can do what they did with Bravo Star of the Show. They print a different chain, a chain that has the same name so that you can use his specialization cards, but that also has a fundamental difference in his storyline or in his lore or in his playability. Obviously, he's going to have a different ability. Maybe he does something different with Shadow cards than Chain bound by Shadow. Maybe he's fully overtaken by Ursa, and he does something with allies. I don't know, because Ursa's an ally. That'd be kind of cool. But what it means is, all of a sudden, when you have that reprint, just like with Bravo Star of the Show, you have the same character, which allows you to use the same specializations, but in a different way, fundamentally. And then, of course, use those same talent cards. Heck, they could even throw, and this would be weird, I don't think they would do this, they could even throw the character itself into a new talent system, so that they could tap into like Runeblade cards plus something else, right? This is what I think the game is leading to, and it's leading to sooner than perhaps we would have all thought or expected, because these three heroes, I think, will be the first to rotate. Obviously, a Bravo Star of the Show has reached Living Legend status, Chain is about to, and then Prism could just keep charging forward, picking up wins, racking up the points, and then reach Living Legend status herself. To me, as I was thinking about this for the past couple of weeks, I've just gotten more and more excited about watching this play out because of the implications of the last thing that I said. The reprinting or the creation of Prism or Chain, or in this case how they did with Bravo, but in a new way that allows you to use their old weapons, their old specializations, their old tools in a new light. And I think that is super exciting, and that's what I expect them to do with the supplemental set, because I don't think we're going to be getting a new Chain in Uprising, just like as a token that you can play. I don't think that's the case, but I could be wrong. We'll know in a couple of days, won't we? Which would be kind of exciting. But same thing with Prism. I think if they're releasing a supplemental set at the end of the year, this is the perfect time to introduce a different Chain, perhaps a different Prism if that comes to that. And a variety of these other, maybe Katsu goes crazy, and we get some crazy new Katsu. The possibilities are endless, and honestly, the more I've thought about this, the more it's looking like this year, 2022, is the landmark year for Flesh and Blood in so many different ways. We've had, the introduction of Fab 2.0 with changing models away from First Edition to and Unlimited to just a unified model. We've had the huge success of the first Pro Tour ever with a first Pro Tour winner. Perhaps, and I don't believe I know when they're planning this, but they've shown that they're doing a World Championship. Maybe it happens at the end of this year. That could be a big landmark achievement moment. You have this fleshing out and then this showing out of how this is going to function in a really cool and unique way, perhaps for the better. I think it's going to be cool. I want to know your thoughts in a comment below if you like this system and you want to know how they're going to tweak it, or if you think it's already good, or if you think it needs a massive overhaul. Let me know in a comment below. But this year, 2022, is really shaping up to be the biggest and best year for Flesh and Blood, which is hilarious because everybody says games die after 3 years, but not this one. I don't think this one will die. So those are my thoughts and ramblings on the Living Legend thing and on the fact that Chain is literally, you just sneeze on him and he's gonna be rotated out. Let me know what you think about this in a comment below. I'm thoroughly excited to see how this all plays out. As always, thanks for watching.